The universe was vast and brimming with intelligent life, yet there was no species as simultaneously baffling and awe-inspiring as humans. When our kind, the Threxians, first encountered them, we found their presence almost laughable. Their biology was weak, their technology primitive by galactic standards, and their penchant for chaotic behavior utterly incomprehensible. But when the looming shadow of doom came for our people, it was humans who stood beside us in defiance of the void. Our planet, Zeltheros, was a jewel in the galaxy, a world of bioluminescent forests, oceans of liquid crystal, and a sky perpetually streaked with auroras. For eons, we had flourished here, our civilization one of harmony and intellectual pursuit. But then the Devourers arrived, ancient, planet-killing machines that consumed entire worlds to fuel their insatiable hunger. When we sent out a distress signal, we hoped for aid from the Galactic Concord, the great alliance of advanced species. What we received instead were cold calculations and bureaucratic apathy. The Concord deemed Zeltheros strategically insignificant. Their fleets would not come. We were abandoned. That's when the humans answered. Their fleet arrived in a chaotic jumble, a collection of mismatched ships that seemed to defy the very principles of engineering. Their flagship, Resolute Destiny, looked more like a space junkyard stapled together than a vessel of war. And yet, there they were, grinning through their comms channels, making jokes we didn't understand. "Y'all look like you could use a hand," their captain, a wiry man named Elias Morgan, said with a lopsided smile. The Threxian High Council was skeptical. What could this scrappy species hope to accomplish against the Devourers? But desperation makes strange allies, and we had no choice but to accept their help. When the Devourers arrived, the first battle was nothing short of chaos. The humans fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness. Their ships didn't rely on elegant energy shields or sleek plasma weapons like those of the Concord. Instead, they had crude kinetic cannons that fired slugs the size of boulders, and missiles that left trails of fire in the vacuum of space. And they were loud. The comms channels were flooded with their chatter during the fight. "Hey, Ramirez, bet you I can take out 2 of these tin cans with 1 shot. Loser buys drinks back on Earth. Focus, you lunatics," Captain Morgan barked. But there was a grin in his voice, too. They called their strategy controlled chaos, though it seemed anything but. Yet somehow it worked. A squadron of human fighters lured one of the Devourers into the planet's gravity well, slamming it into the crystalline ocean in a titanic explosion. Another group rigged one of their frigates as a decoy, filling it with explosives and ramming it into a massive Devourer ship. It was reckless, it was absurd, and it was undeniably effective. After the battle, as the surviving humans and Threxians gathered on our planet to regroup, we got our first real taste of human culture. They celebrated victory with something called a barbecue, a feast of sizzling meats and bizarrely flavored snacks. They insisted we join them, despite our confusion about their strange customs. One human, a burly man named Hank, handed me a drink and clapped me on the back hard enough to nearly dislocate a thorax joint. "Cheer up, pal. You survived. That's worth a toast." "This is your custom?" I asked hesitantly. "Hell yeah," Hank replied. "Humans party hard. It's how we keep the doom and gloom stuff from getting to us." Their resilience was baffling. While we Threxians mourned our losses with solemnity, humans laughed, sang, and told stories as if they just won the galactic lottery. Yet, beneath their humor and bravado, I saw something else. A fierce determination, a refusal to give in, no matter the odds. The next attack came 3 cycles later. This time, the Devourers deployed a massive World Eater, a machine the size of a small moon. Its arrival darkened the skies, casting Zeltheros in perpetual twilight. The High Council declared it hopeless. Even the humans seemed uncertain. But then Captain Morgan called an emergency meeting. "All right, folks," he said, pacing in front of a holographic display of the World Eater. "This thing's big, nasty, and probably thinks it's invincible. But I've got a plan. It's insane, probably suicidal, and that's how we like it." Hank interrupted, earning a round of cheers from his crewmates. Morgan grinned. "Glad to hear it. Here's what we're gonna do." The plan was audacious, even by human standards. They intended to infiltrate the World Eater using a modified cargo ship loaded with explosives. A small team would disable its defenses from the inside, while the rest of the fleet distracted its massive escort. I volunteered to join the infiltration team. As a Threxian diplomat, combat was far from my expertise, but something about the humans' courage, or insanity, stirred something in me. The mission was a harrowing blend of terror and absurdity. The humans on my team, Hank included, cracked jokes even as we dodged security drones and navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the World Eater. At one point, Hank pulled out a small device he called a universal translator. It looked ancient, held together by duct tape and hope. "This baby's gonna hack into their comms," he said proudly. "That device looks unreliable," I said. Hank winked. "Unreliable is my middle name." Against all odds, the plan worked. We planted the explosives and escaped in a stolen Devourer ship, with Hank piloting as if he were in a joyride. As we watched the World Eater erupt in a blinding explosion from the safety of the fleet, the humans erupted into cheers. "Did you see that?" Boom. Right in their metallic faces. Hank shouted, punching the air. I couldn't help but laugh, a strange, chittering sound that startled even me. It was the first time I'd laughed in cycles. The final confrontation came days later. The Devourers unleashed their full force, determined to eradicate our world. The human fleet, battered and outnumbered, stood their ground. They fought with everything they had: courage, ingenuity, and a seemingly endless supply of absurd tactics. One human ship, heavily damaged, used its last moments to transmit a message to the Devourers. It was a piece of human music, a symphony, they called it. The haunting melody echoed across the battlefield, a defiant testament to their spirit. In the end, we prevailed. The combined efforts of the humans and Threxians destroyed the Devourer fleet, driving the remnants into retreat. Zeltheros was saved. As we gathered to honor the fallen, Captain Morgan approached me. "You did good out there, Ambassador," he said, extending a hand. "So did you, Captain," I replied, clasping it with my claw. "Though I still don't understand why you risked so much for us. Your people had nothing to gain." Morgan shrugged. "That's just how we're wired. When someone's in trouble, we help. Doesn't matter if they're human, Threxian, or something else entirely." Hank chimed in, raising a glass of some foul-smelling liquid. "And besides, you guys are kinda cool." "Weird but cool." Looking around at the humans laughing, celebrating, and mourning their losses in equal measure, I realized something profound. They weren't just fighters or jokesters. They were a paradox, a species capable of great destruction, yet driven by an equally great capacity for compassion. In the face of doom, it was humanity who came to our aid. And in their chaos, humor, and relentless determination, they taught us a lesson we would never forget. Sometimes, the most extraordinary heroes are the ones who refuse to see themselves as such.